when we start having these conversations of, what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it now, it just initiates that conversation with the stakeholders. And sometimes what we observe is that sometimes they have also not thought about it. And it's not a bad thing. And that is why they reach out to the consulting firms, they reach out to the vendors like us to help them understand what would be the best solution for them. Sometimes they reach out to us asking for a certain product, and then we don't just give them the product right away. We ask them these intriguing questions that what are you going to do? What are you planning to do? What do you want to achieve? And then there have been instances when we observed that the product a certain customer reached out to us for, that is not the right fit for them. And we tell them that what you're trying to do would be better suited with this product. And this is how you can achieve whatever you're trying to do. So,
welcome to the Business Transformation Podcast. In this episode, we are talking to one of those industry experts. We are speaking to Shahshank Gupta, who is a business process transformation expert. Beg your pardon. Shahshank, how are you going, mate? How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for asking, Heath. How are you?
Real good, very good. So just for complete disclosure for our audience, you're in another part of the world. We've only just met each other. We had a quick chat before we got on here. So for ladies and gentlemen, this is not a preconceived, we've got a hidden agenda here. We're going to say this is only related to America and it's not relevant anywhere else in the world. No, it's what you'll find is that what we will discuss is generally symptoms of the program, of the transformation. And so their goal is that you can take actionable takeaways that you can apply the next day, and today being we're recording this on a Friday, probably won't apply it tomorrow, but on Monday when you go into the office.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. Okay. So as a business process transformation expert, so a topic I quite like a lot, as well as the culture question, because I think culture is I think that's the hidden glue that in terms of transformation, it's almost was it the poor cousin or the forgotten cousin, that it's the thing that sticks it together, but no one's really paying attention. So I like that part, but also like the business process. And business processes, I think in organizations, activities don't just happen on their own, or events. They're not events, they're part of a process. And I think that's missed by a lot in the industry right now. So I'm glad to be speaking to a business process transformation expert. And for our audience, so we can keep our discussion on topic and that you can follow along. As usual, we talk about it 3 points. And for Shahshank, we are going to say, okay, so from your experience, and to put into context, Shahshank has, I don't know, close to 2 decades experience, probably 3/4 of those in the big 4 and transformation roles, and now is currently, can we say, with a leading business process transformation supplier and probably the biggest in the world.
Yeah, not 2 decades of experience. I want to correct that a little bit. Yeah. I do have almost 12 years of experience, and a major part of that working with consulting firms, and focused last maybe 5-6 years, focused mostly on business process transformation or business transformation. And but I would say one thing, business transformation is not something new in the market, right? That's something that has been there for decades. Every company, every department, every team does that in some way, shape, or form, right? And it's just that over the past decade or so, with all the new technologies and next gen tools coming up in the market, that has become a more mainstream thing now, and organizations are paying more attention to it, opposed to individual teams or departments doing that in silos. So that business transformation has essentially kind of evolving into at enterprise level, and that has now become enterprise business transformations.
Yes, I agree.
I've been associated with this business process transformation throughout my whole career, but for the past few years, that has been dedicated, into this space completely.
Okay, very good. Okay, so business process transformation, and yes, I think with the new tools in the market, AI being one of them, the focus has been around processes. And if I think if you try to transform your organization and don't look at your processes either as the first thing you do or it is the core thing you do, you might be missing a trick. I see a lot of attention, even looking at the org structure of understanding how the organization's set up and structured. Because in the organization, in your structure, and my approach, you start with your organization structure, understand, put your arms around who's in scope, who's out, who's not. But the stakeholders that are in those teams in that structure, what's their roles and responsibilities, and exactly what's role they do in a process. And then you look at the process.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So there are two. So I would say there are like two parts of it. Like when we say business transformation, one is the org transformation, wherein you look at where people are and what are they doing, and then maybe identify redundancies there or inefficiencies in that whole org chart of an organization. And then you have the process transformation, wherein, as you mentioned earlier, that anything that an organization does is a part of a process. Like nobody's doing their job just on the go. Like there is an underlying process behind it. There are set ways in which each team, each individuals are supposed to be doing, work in an organization, whether that be in any department they are, whether they are in supply chain, whether they're in finance. There is a certain underlying process always to it.
Yes.
So yeah, there's always two pieces of it, people and technology, and people, process, and technology actually.
Yes.
And as you mentioned earlier, culture is a very critical piece of it, because as an organization, if at the leadership level you just decide to do the business transformation, you can come up with new optimized process, new policies and everything, but unless it comes from the leadership and the employees are receptive of that, it's not going to be very successful. So that is why people are an important piece of this business transformation puzzle, because not only we need to analyze what the people are doing, we also need to think about how receptive they would be of some of the changes that you might want to bring in as part of the business transformation objective.
Okay, all right. So I think we've started to get into the first point there, but I want to. It's interesting because your background is a combination of business process and some technology in there. But what we're talking about, and it's clearly looking like it's business-led transformation. To understanding if, like you just said, if at the leadership strategic level, the leader decides, yep, we're going to transform, but if it's not brought in by the people in operations who actually are doing the work, doing the processes, then it's going to go nowhere.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what, and as I mentioned earlier, that business transformation or business process transformation is not something new. People have been doing that, but now it has been evolving into enterprise level, enterprise business transformation. The reason being because think about automation. RPA, again, not a new technology in the market, right? It has been there for a couple of decades, right? But what used to happen earlier is that people used to do automations within their teams, within their departments, to do cost savings, to reduce effort from some of the manual tasks that they're doing, and save some cost on that. But as you grow in an organization, it works for small teams in silos. Within that team, you might be able to identify and get some cost saving. But when these automations grow, then there's a need to look at from a holistic lens of the process, that from a process end-to-end process standpoint, what is happening. And that's where some of the next-gen tools can really help you understand where the actual bottlenecks are. Like there are some tools in the market that helps you identify where in the process you have the actual bottlenecks. Because let's say as a team, you're working in a silo and you automated something, but in that component, you are observing savings. You used to be spending 1,000 hours on a monthly basis, and now that has come down to maybe, let's say, 100 hours, and everything else you've automated. Fine, great. That you have made the saving in that particular component, but if it's not solving your end-to-end process, like if your throughput or productivity of the end-to-end process is not increasing, then that means you have automated an area of the process that was not your bottleneck. You have, and that's why business process, when I talk about business process transformation, it's very important, and a lot lot more organizations are realizing this now, that it is very important when they are doing any kind of org transformations, any kind of system migrations or modernization. There are a lot of companies still that use legacy systems, and now they are, modernizing their all the tech systems and everything.
Yep.
So a lot of organizations have now realized this, that this all has to connect to the process. If it doesn't, then even though they might do one piece of the transformation, like they might migrate systems to the latest technology, but if it's not connected to the process, it might still not solve their objective of automating it. And that's where there's a study from Gartner and some of the other organizations that a lot of organizations in the past decade that have been involved in automation in any capacity, they have mentioned that more than 50% of these automation initiatives are not successful because they fail to look at it from, a holistic process standpoint.
Yeah. Okay. So I think some of the points you said there, if I pay them back to you, is that if you were doing your process re-engineering and you got some savings, you might have got, maybe say in the micro level, the savings, but on the macro, not so. And so, so what may be happening is that you're getting, what's the word? Sorry, there's, you're moving the work through or information through the organization with no real transformation.
Exactly. Yeah. And because you have observed that savings on papers, that yes, there you're getting savings, but you have to understand what are the objectives of the organization.
Yeah.
Right. So from those objectives, you have to understand what you need to, what are you trying to get out of this business transformation, and are you meeting the end goal or not? So like, I'll give you an example. I was working for a retail client that has like global presence, and they were, a few years back, they were they had various systems. They had, I think, more than 50 systems that they were using in one of their department, and they were kind of combining all those and moving everything to cloud. And you know what? And it was a multi-year, multi-million-dollar business transformation project. And a few months down the line in that project, they start with just the system transformation. And few months down the line, like maybe I think 6 months down the line, they realized that we are, moving all those legacy systems that we have over to cloud into a single platform. But but we have not thought about how it's going to impact the process. And 6 months down the line, they, hired, one of the consulting firms to do the process analysis in line with the system transformation that was happening. Yeah. And what that helped us was, the way that helped the retail client was, they were able to identify a lot of gaps. And imagine this, they were able to, do like in less than a year of their 3 to 4 years of transformation initiative. Had they not thought about that, and after 3 years, their system would have been migrated to cloud and everything, but then process would have been broken.
Process,
and that would not have worked for them. That would have, created more problem for them. And for that, it would have been a very costly fix for them at that point, because then they have another couple of years in fixing that. That's why when I say, you have to look at it from a holistic lens. It's about the process discovery first. You try to understand what the process is, and you try to understand the people and technology as part of that process. So it's process, people, and technology all together. So when you understand the process first, and the people associated with that, and the technology associated with that, then you can identify where are the bottlenecks. Is my process broken? Is my technology broken? Is my people broken? Which part of the puzzle is broken?
Which broken?
And how you can fix that.
Okay, so I should have recapped from the beginning. I want to talk to a couple of points you just took there. So we're going to say what's not working. So we're covering some parts there in the industry. What is your approach? And you're starting to talk about that. And the last one is, if you could do it again with your years of experience, how would you do it? And so just on a couple of points there, you said one of the first two things that you would do would be you'd question what is it you want to get out of it, out of this transformation, and then two, how do you measure that you are getting out of it? So the takeaway there sounds like this is, and I would say that effectively it's your vision. What is the vision you're trying to achieve? And that could be and mostly strategic vision, right? What's the organization want to achieve? And then operational, what is maybe the business changes or enablers, technology, those people, process, technology changes that you want to change to help realize that vision. And then and you said the second part is what is the objective? So that is the measure. So how do you measure success? Yeah.
Yep.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
okay, what is the industry doing well and not well? What are they doing well right now? Is it what you just said, the process discovery is working well, they're identifying or it is more of, and maybe it's the evolving, they were previously doing a technology change, a technology driven transformation, and then they were lucky enough to catch themselves and go, you know what? I think if we continue this path, we're not letting the business catch up with us. We're going to be in trouble. And maybe now it's starting to shift to be more business-led transformation, and then finding the technology to support that transformation as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah. So no, that's a great question actually, and I have worked with several clients in the business transformation space over the past few years when I was working in consulting space, and that is something what I've observed. What is working well for the clients is everybody wants to do business transformation, and everybody identifies the need to do business transformation in current competitive market, because you can't have broken processes, you can't spend unnecessary money on some part of the process. You have to optimize your process, right?
Yes, optimize.
So what the industry is doing good right now is they have accepted the need for business transformation. They have become very good in automations. They have accepted RPA, or most of the big organizations, they have their RPA teams in some capacity automating their work. One area that the industry has been struggling but evolving rapidly now, and and they have now started to accept this, is the process discovery part. As I was telling earlier, that a lot of companies, they are doing automations, but they're not getting the results out of the automation. Let's say the objective of the organization is to save $5 million annually on one of the processes that they're doing, right? And even after automating, and traditionally, what the organization have been doing is they have been asking the business SMEs to identify areas wherein they can save money. What they go and do is they identify areas wherein there is a lot of manual effort going on, wherein there is a bigger team, so that they can evaluate whether they can, go ahead and instead of having 10 members there, they can work with 8 members and stuff like that. That way, traditionally, they're identifying the automation opportunities and they're automating it. The problem there is it's not fact-based. It's not data-driven.
Okay.
Business SME identifies those, automation opportunities. They say that these are the pain points, and then somebody, evaluate those, makes a business case out of it, and they start working on it.
Okay, so anecdotal versus evidence-based.
Yeah, exactly.
Data-based.
Yeah, exactly. But now, with some of the next-gen process discovery tools in the market, what you can do is rather, you can map out your whole process end-to-end, and then look into that process. Where is actually your problem? And if you fix that problem, is that going to help you meet the end objective, right? And that's the part that the industry has not been doing very well in the past decade, but they have now started accepting that. They've now started realizing the need of process discovery in order to identify the right automation opportunities versus automating what they think should be automated, right? So that process discovery piece is something that the industry has been working on. That gives them the data-driven approach, data-driven confidence that, if you optimize this part of the process, that would help. And business transformation is not just about automation. That is another thing, that the industry has started accepting now. So far, there have been capabilities within the organization that used to focus on automation, right? Like all the big organizations, they have RPA capabilities. They do not currently have process transformation capabilities, right? Because that's the part they have been missing. That was the missing piece of the puzzle, because they have been automating, so they have that capability. It just now, the process transformation is just helping them understand what to automate and why to automate,
Okay, so they were more technology driven, made sure they were able to do technology transformation or technology change, but lacking the business process awareness that also probably done in tandem, if not beforehand. And so now the lesson for the industry is they are conscious, as you're saying, and accepting. I think there's the hidden thing we're not talking about here is really the mindset, right? There is the mindset of the people. I talk about the agile mindset when I have agile, hardcore agile guys on here, and I'll say, look, agile first and foremost, my understanding is it's about the way of thinking, and the way of thinking turns into a way of behavior, and thinking about iterative, doing things in small and iteratively, and that becomes how you build business agility through constantly testing, changing, challenging. But it starts with first the way of thinking, and others would say no, it's a framework, it's a way of doing project delivery. And I'm like, but you had to think first before anything. Okay, so this is the thing you're saying, is that they're now thinking and accepting, and in terms of change management and stakeholder management, and you talked about it before. If you don't get the business on board, the leadership is saying we want to do this, and if the business are not on board, good luck to you.
Yeah, exactly. And not just the business, like even at the employees level, you need to make sure that, the changes that you're bringing in, people are receptive of that, right? And you can't always bring up changes thinking that, or taking their opinion, whether they'll be receptive of that or not. But then you have to consider that part as well, the changes that you're bringing in. You don't have to take their opinion on necessarily that, this is the change that you're bringing. Are you accepting this or not? But you have to think about how to bring up the cultural change, so that the process changes and the technology changes that you're bringing in, people feel more comfortable with that, and people don't feel that they used to do a process in a certain way. Why they're doing it in a different way right now, right? You need to provide that kind of a background and comfort to the actual people who are doing the work, that this is the correct way of doing it, this is a better way of doing it, and there are reasons behind making these changes.
So taking them through that, it's almost like the mythical transformation journey.
Exactly.
I'm sure at some point that name is going to get a bad name, transformation journey. It's like there was a time, or not that long ago, that I was on a project, and I was told when I joined that I couldn't use or introduce myself as a business architect. And I said, why is that? And I said, because business architects got a bad name. I said, whoa. I said, yeah. I said, they've had a couple of business architects in here, and they end up creating beautiful PowerPoint presentations that were interesting but not very useful. And now they just, they're, what's the word? Once bitten, twice shy. And so they had enough of this business architect. They just create beautiful pictures, and we can't do anything with them and waste our time. And so I was warned not to use the word business architect. And I'm wondering, there's going to be a time, are we going to say there's a time where, the transformation journey, get that out of here. I don't want to hear that word again. I don't know. I think we could end up that way if it's, maybe there's an education part to it. And I think rightly that for you as a seasoned professional, work for some very big international companies, and also business process, and also the technology side of enabling those ones, that you're saying these things, which is music to my ears. The culture and people, and then process, because nothing happens as you said yourself at the start. No events, and there's everything they tasks and activities they're done as part of the process. So that's really good. So again, I like that you're saying is the cultural change, that there's a cultural change. So wow.
There has to be. There has to be, because as I've been mentioning, like for any transformation, you need to think about all these three components: people, process, technology. All three has to go, hand in hand. And I don't know if the word transformation journey would become obsolete in the market, or people will start hating that word in the market. But I think I like that word as of now, because this is also one of the things I feel that organizations are now started realizing, and I missed that part earlier. I'm glad that you brought it up. Transformation is not one initiative. Like you can't do like a 1 year or 3 year transformation and get done with it. It is a journey, because our market is, continuously evolving. Customers are continuously evolving, right? So you have to keep evolving. If you don't do that, this transformation as a journey, and that's where I talked about process discovery. I talked about process discovery. I talked about the automation. Now this takes me to the another part: maintenance, monitoring, and maintenance, right? So far, automation, like companies have been doing automation, right? Process discovery is something that's like the prequel of automation. You know, now they're realizing that with the process discovery, they will be able to identify better automation opportunities that will help them meet the objectives. And once their objectives are met with the monitoring and maintenance part, because you can't just simply make the changes. Now, when we talk about business transformation, it's not just automation. It could be your resources need training, your process changes, right? There could be a number of different things that you can do, but you can't just make those changes once and think that, okay, it's done, it's perfect, because it might become as close to perfect as it could be today. But in the next 6 months, it might not be. Market might change, your customers' requirement, expectation might change. So it has to be a journey. And this is, again, one thing that organizations are now understanding. And when they are, doing this transformation and, doing automations, when we also talk to, our partners and customers, we stress a lot on this part as well, that do not think that, in 1 year you can do this and get done with this. Make sure that you continue to monitor it and keep doing it. It's a rinse and repeat. It's a rinse and repeat. You just keep doing it. The initial effort will be a lot, but then if you don't monitor, it's a waste.
Okay. So the audience, in case you missed it there, we've got the three parts of the journey. Three parts of the journey is the discovery, and this is the discovery, which is now the market is more accepting and acknowledging that what the discovery allows us to do is a better identify automation opportunities. And of the automation, then you carry out your automation, but automation is not an end point. It is part of the process, the transformation process, overall transformation process or journey. And then you must do the monitoring, the maintenance. And I like that what you said is that in 6 months' time, what you've done today is fit for purpose. In 6 months' time, as the market changes, customers' needs and desires, new technology, they wanted it yesterday, now they wanted it 2 days before yesterday. So you need to adapt and change. And so you need to continuously improve. And so that's, I think that's good, because I see a lot of transformation projects when in some cases it's the cause of the consultants themselves will use, all the big words and jargon and all the words, and it's really impressive. But to the business users, they're going, I don't quite understand that. Oh, these guys are going to be gone in a couple of months. Look at their watch and they're going, just wait for a couple of months, these guys will be gone and we can go back to how it was before. And it's like, and the cycle repeats. But in this case, they've implemented the change. That's not the end of the program. It might be, say, technically the end of the program, not end of the transformation, though. It will continually evolve.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you're totally right. And, I've also done projects in consulting long ago wherein we have not focused on the complete end-to-end journey that I'm talking today. And that's where, after consulting, when I joined my current firm, UiPath, wherein we have the enterprise business transformation platform, this is something that I've learned over here, that how important it is to focus on end to end. Like if you miss like some pieces of it, you might be successful in a short term, but in the long term, again, you might come across the similar issues that you have to, like, that something is broken, you have to fix it again. So I completely agree. There have worked with a lot of clients wherein we have either worked on just process discovery or just automation, and not thought about the pieces before or after that.
Okay. So the takeaway there is for the audience is that, there's really effectively three parts to it: discovery, the automation, and then the maintenance, monitoring and maintenance.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got a few, what's the organization doing well and not well? I think a lot of it is awareness and accepting of the changes, and particularly the discovery part, so they can get better opportunities or identify better automation opportunities. Now, the second part, and I think you started to allude to it, of what is your approach when you go into a client and they've called you up and said, "Hey, look, we need to change," and so what's approach you follow?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, it's a whole journey. So when we talk to our customers, what we try to understand from them is what are they trying to do and why are they trying to do it now.
Yeah.
That's very important.
The what and why.
Yeah, because the answer of what, usually most of the business stakeholders that we talk to, they have it very clear that we want to save $2 million annually in this part in, let's say, supply chain. The next question that we ask is like, why do you want to do it now? Like, did you already do something about it earlier and you failed, or did you never thought about it? Like, what is making you think about the business transformation now? So that helps us understand the background of what they've already tried, whether they have been successful, what was their rate of success, whether they failed, and if they failed, then why they failed. So that helps uncover a lot of underlying thought process as well as the initiatives that have been done before coming to us for business transformation. So those are the two things that we start with.
Okay, that's what. So if you're a business owner, leader, or manager looking to transform your organization and about to spend 6, 7, or 8 figures on your project, then listen to this all the way through. So my name is Heath Gascoigne, and I'm the author of the Business Transformation Playbook. I've used the 6-step agile framework HOBA, House of Business Architecture, with private clients including the UK government, 5100 companies and startups. I'm the guy that clients call to turn around their failing transformations. Join me, I'm running a 30-minute masterclass where I show you exactly what you need to do to transform your organisation on budget and on time. Click the link below this video to register. Look forward to seeing you there. So it's interesting that you're saying that about what they have done before and failed. So what you're essentially saying is lessons learned, right? What's the lessons learned from your past? Because what you're trying to do is not repeat the same mistake. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And did you think that either the clients in general or the market have a general awareness or concept of that hey, look, if we continue to try these transformations and we fail, because I worked with a client pretty recently, and that their first, they would say it so fast out of their mouth, it was amazing. You couldn't even catch them saying it. It's almost a habit. They'll say, I said, what's your approach? They say, we fail fast. I said, what do you say? Sorry, we fail fast. I said, wait a minute. They said, we're trying everything. I said, but you're not. Why are you failing fast? And what are you trying to achieve? Oh, we're just trying to do this, and if we fail, it's okay because we fail fast.
Exactly. I mean, that can't be like a catch-all phrase of all the initiatives that you're doing. Fail fast is a good approach, good mindset to have, right? But you have to fail fast towards doing something that you are trying to achieve.
Yes.
You can't just keep on failing fast. That makes sense. So you have to be clear as an organization who is doing business transformation. You have to be clear about your end goal, your objective. This is what I want to be in 6 months, in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years, right? And that's also another point, that you just, when we talk about the objectives, we just don't talk about where you want to be in 6 months. We want to understand the mindset of the business stakeholders, not just in terms of their short-term needs, but also in long-term needs. Because as I mentioned, otherwise, it will again be the same way of doing transformation that organizations have been doing in the past decade or so. But now we talk about long-term journey. We talk about the journey. You start from here. Where do you want to be in the next months and next few years?
Okay, so and I think that will get them out of like moving the deck chairs on the Titanic, making sure everything is lined up. But wait a minute, you're heading into the iceberg here. If there's like the processing really fast, you just moved the information through the organization quickly, but you didn't turn the organization.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So your approach is one of the first things you do is the big questions. I think I would call them, others call them something similar. The 5W1H, the why you're doing it, the how, and where, when, what you need to do. All those big questions, the big strategic questions, you clear that out straight away. Get it very clear. Get it on paper. Say, okay, we know what we want to do. They say, okay, the process improvement, cost savings, revenue generating, new markets, products, etc. But I like the part that you added there was not just the why, but why now? That's a great question. Why now? Because it's almost, why? Yeah, we want to be the best in 5 years, or like I did a contract for the Border Force. They said, we want to be the best Border Force in the world by 2025. And I go, what does best mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, when we start having these conversations of, what you're trying to do and why you're trying to do it now, it just initiates that conversation with the stakeholders. And sometimes what you observe is that sometimes they have also not thought about it. And it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And that is why they reach out to the consulting firms, they reach out to the vendors like us to help them understand what would be the best solution for them. Sometimes they reach out to us asking for a certain product, and then we don't just give them the product right away. We ask them these intriguing questions that what are you going to do? What are you planning to do? What do you want to achieve? And then there have been instances when we observed that the product a certain customer reached out to us for, that is not the right fit for them. And we tell them that what you're trying to do would be better suited with this product. And this is how you can achieve whatever you're trying to do. So it just initiates that conversation. And then once that conversation starts, even if they have not thought about it yet, they will start thinking about it. They will start thinking about it in a more strategic way, because now we have become their sort of advisors to
trusted partner.
Trusted partners.
Okay, so the summary of the audience missed that, right? Is like these. I think in transformation, that the part that people that the industry might be missing is that when you're changing an organization, you're not changing, you're changing people, the way they work and think. And so you've got to, and you've talked about it in the mind, you get in the mind of, and I think for consultants is that you really want to have impactful change. How you're going to do it is understand the mind of your stakeholders and where they are in the journey, maybe starting in the journey, and then you take them through that journey, and they might think it's going to end at some point very soon, but the project will end. The actual organization's transformation will continue to change. And like I heard I have on here recently, Tom West, and he had a great analogy as a consultant talking about, he sees his role as first he's in the water with the client with the life jacket. And then he's standing on the shore with the megaphone. And then he's sitting back like miles away and they're in the water on their own, swimming on their own. So he's done his job, like, the empowerment or the knowledge transfer. And I said, that's perfect, because you've now given them a muscle.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. I agree. Yeah, that's what we also try to do with some of our customers who do not have, a lot of experience implementing business transformation projects. Initially, when we work with them, we start with a pilot project. Like once we have understood what they're trying to do, then we start with a pilot project wherein we implement things along with their team. Their team learns from us, and then we give it to them. That now you have shadowed us doing how we are implementing the overall business transformation project. Now the next phase of the project, you can do it, and we would be in kind of a support role or advisor role. And then once you've done like one or two projects like that, then you can keep the show running on your own.
Yeah. Okay, and off board. Yeah, that's it. So that's why I try to explain to clients is that my job is to work myself out of the job.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you still need me by the time we've finished this project, I didn't do my job.
That is true. That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah, because we'll give you all the tools, and I go, hey, if you wanted to call me back, it's because you wanted to, not because you needed to. Yeah. Cool. So okay, and so I think that's we got a good an approach, and I love that. It's people focused, understanding the minds. We get the what, the why now. Understand the lessons learned of what failed before, or what you've done, what you've tried, how successful you were. And then, like I did one of my first projects when I arrived in the UK was Solvency II, and this was actually the largest project that the FSA at that time had ever done, and that really ever done, even bigger than Basel II. And I said, isn't this not dissimilar to Basel II, another industry-wide legislation change affecting the whole country? Yep. I said, okay, so what's the lessons learned? I said, oh, we didn't capture them. I said, what? I said, so is there anyone still around from the last project I said, oh yeah, that farewell that we all went to yesterday, the one that you came to as well? Yeah. Well, that girl that just left yesterday, she was the last one. Oh my God. It's like this is the change management elements of transformation that the people stuff that you were saying earlier is that, it's great that the organized industry is now aware and accepting of these new things they need to be aware of and now, accept. And I think that part of it is that there's the people element. It's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. People and culture element is huge. And because tools can only enable you to do this transformation. Tools can only provide you the capability to do this transformation.
Yep.
How you do it is dependent on you. All these business transformation tools in the market, they're very similar in terms of capabilities that they offer, right?
Yep.
But how do you use those tools to your advantage to achieving your objectives of your business transformation is something very relevant and very unique to you as an organization.
Yeah.
And that's the part, and that is where understanding the background of what has been done and what has failed and why it has failed helps both the parties understand. As a customer, you get to do a retrospective of, what you did and why it failed and why you want to try it again now. And we as a vendor also, who are advising our customers, we also get to understand that, okay, our tool has the capability, but the nuances of your process and teams and systems, how that is going to play how that is going to play their role in this journey of business transformation. That's something really helps when we have these kind of conversations.
Yeah. Okay. So people page. You said those three elements earlier: people, process, technology. Yeah. Probably in equal parts. Okay. And so now, if you could do it again, knowing what you know, years of experience, Big Four background, lots of different clients, helped them change transformation. Now with a market leading, I don't know what we'd call a UiPath, RPA organization. Would you call? Are they?
Yeah, it started as an RPA organization because that was the thing last decade, but now it has evolved into enterprise business transformation platform, wherein it's not just RPA, it's not just about automation. It has several tools for process discovery, then it has several tools for automation, and then it has several tools for monitoring and governance and insights and analysis and maintenance and stuff like that. So it has evolved into a whole platform that customers can leverage in their transformation journey end to end.
All right. Okay. It's the all singing, all dancing. Okay. So now knowing what you know, if you were to do it again as a newbie coming into the industry and you've got this years of experience and knowledge, tools and techniques under your belt, what would you do differently? How would you attack these transformations?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Based on my experience and based on what I understand now, I think in some of the process transformation initiatives that I've been a part of, I would make sure that people, process, and technology, and I know I'm repeating it, but that's what
you would do. Yeah.
That's what I've learned now. I've done projects where it was just technology transformation or it was just process transformation. So now I'm aware of the fact that, people, process, and technology, they have to go hand in hand in order to be a successful transformation. So I will make sure that these are being considered by the client leadership. I will advise them, how to bring all of them together when they're thinking about any transformation. And then secondly, one of the things when I talk about process discovery, I've done projects wherein we have done process discovery. And from there, we have, moved on to the next step of process optimization, including automation. But the process discovery piece, we have done in a very traditional way. We call it process modeling, wherein we do stakeholder interviews. We conduct interviews with the business SMEs. We ask them, okay, tell us what your process looks like. And what happens in that is the business SMEs, they will tell you their process the way they feel the process is being followed or the way they think that the process should be followed, right? They don't always know the ground reality of how the resources, how the users are actually following the process. And so that has always been a traditional way of doing process discovery or process modeling, we call it. Now there are, tools in the market that are more focused on process mining, wherein what we do is we don't ask the business SMEs to tell us what the process is. What we do is we mine the data. and the data tells us what the process is. And
Ah,
you would not believe it. When you talk to the business stakeholders, they will tell you this is the process flow consisting of step 1 to 10. There are, 2, 3 variations to it. Of course, there are always variations. No
yep.
process, goes like straight
Fruit.
line 1 to
Yeah.
10.
Yep.
Yeah. They will tell you because that's how human minds work. Because like you can only know about limited number of variations that you have set it up.
Yep.
Maybe a couple of years ago, when we were setting up the department. When you mine the data, you will see that in reality, when users are executing the process end to end, there are hundreds of thousands of variations sometimes.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and that's where these new tools and technologies are really helping bridge that gap of doing something on a gut feeling based that,
Yep.
this is what the business SMEs feel. These are the pain point. This is the process versus doing something fact based, data driven. That,
Yeah.
okay, my data is telling clearly that your team is not following the process correctly. There are n number of variations. And since it is data driven, it becomes very easier now to analyze the data. You can
Yes.
visualize the data. You can see that there are hundreds of thousands of variations, or not hundreds of variations, but at least like hundreds of variations.
Yeah.
Then you can dive deep into that, analyze it better. You can dive deep into there. Okay, why there are variations happening?
To the
Which part of the
root
process is
cause.
actually broken? Yeah, you can identify the root causes. You can see which part of my process is actually broken, and stuff like that. So with these, now knowing that there are better tools and technologies in the market, one thing that I would do better is not just do the process modeling. Process modeling is also required to set up the high level process. But in
Yep.
order to dive deep into those processes, I would not just rely on the information provided by the business SMEs, but I would also include some of these tools and technologies during the transformation journey, specific into
The mining.
discovery phase, the
Yep.
process mining. Another one is task mining, wherein we just record user activities. Like there are tools that would record user activities, what they are doing, and from there, the AI models in the backend, the algorithm in the backend will generate the process flow for you. That okay, this is the process that is being followed. So that is again one thing that I will do, like include these newer tools and technologies in the market that we have now for business transformation.
Okay. Yeah. So that's getting to, and it's like you, and you're also Six Sigma certified, right? So you
Yeah.
understand variation, that the difference between an efficient and probably super efficient, or if we're talking Sigma 1 or 2 Sigmas, then you're going, okay, so when you start putting a lot of volume for a process, a lot of widgets or a lot of applications, a lot of cases, and then you can improve the variation, reduce the variation, you get an even more efficient process. And when you're dealing on scale, and we're just saying enterprise scale, then you get some big savings. So yeah, that might be okay. So so you're doing it again with this knowledge coming in for the first time, with now reincarnated, and you go, ta-da! I would do this. My approach is always going to be people, process, and technology. That you are not going to be, previously wouldn't be just process focused or just technology focused, but holistically, the whole thing. As part of the discovery, yes, is important. The mapping and modeling that will get you the macro big picture, but to understand where the root causes are, the new tools that have come about, so you'd use those, implement those. So it's really the two parts there being process mining and task mining, to get right down to the details, the task details, and then from there understand the root cause and the variation. And I think if you were going to do a pilot and understand what an example of good looks like versus a minor change, might give you the delta, and go, this is the lever we need to pull that tells the big difference. We fix this, we fix it all. The 80-20. Yeah.
Yeah, and these tools I was talking about, a lot of these tools come up with like simulation functionalities or simulation capability, wherein you can check before taking the next step of what you are like, where you are going to make changes. You can test it out in the tool itself by making changes. If I make this change,
What's
how is it
impact?
going to impact my end goal?
The
What kind of business
simulation.
savings? Yeah, what kind of business savings it is going to give me and all that. So all these newer tools in the market are like really helping the clients in not just analyzing their process from a fact-based point, from a data point, but
Yep.
also helping them identify the right opportunities. Those
Yes.
are again making the business case that is more data-driven than just gut feeling driven.
Okay, yeah, the right opportunities. And so the ultimate outcome of there being a good ROI, good return on investment from their transformation. And then ultimately they implement those changes, cost savings, they get to achieve what you started from the beginning, what you wanted to do, and when you wanted to do it, and why you want to do it and why now. All righty. So that was okay. So that's that. So you're doing it again. Now, I don't, if we want to drop any tools, any mention of tools, if people want to get a hold of you, they could, and they can find out maybe an example of those tools hinted. All right. So how do we go? Well, we'll wrap it up there, actually. Shahshank, that was great. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get a hold of our business process transformation expert, we'll put the Shahshank's the contact details down in the show notes. And there was some research there about the Gartner. If you've got some more information on that, we'll put in the show notes too. And the other, if they want to get a hold of you to do some RPA transformation, then they know your contact details, your LinkedIn, and also the company. We'll put down the show notes and they can get a hold of you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in terms of the where people can get tools like that, just go to UiPath website. We have several free plans also available wherein people can go and try out the products themselves for both individuals as well as for organizations and enterprise as well. We have some free plans available wherein they can go and test it out, and if they find that helpful, they can reach out to us. If they want to reach out to us before trying, they can always do that. But yeah, if they want to look at the product, what all products we have, just go to UiPath websites and everything will be there.
Yeah, and also if they want to meet you personally, you're in Manhattan, in New York.
Yes, I'm in New York. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I got to come see you before when I move over there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When you're in New York, hit me up and we should catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do some transformation, business led.
Yeah.
We got a tool already. All right. Okay. Shahshank, thank you very much. It's Friday midday there. Lucky you. So you got the rest of Friday to look forward to. Here in the UK, the sun has just gone down. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on this show. And it was great talking to you. And hope you have a great Friday evening.
Thank you very much. Cheers, my buddy. Okay. Look out for this coming in. I'll drop it a couple of weeks or hopefully a week only dropping. Okay. Good man. Thanks, mate. Catch ya. Okay. Bye. Bye.